Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
Today, we are just focusing on an additional type of a report, which is the most frequently created report, is called as the variance report. It's basically we compare two versions data together in a report. For example, you are comparing actuals versus budget data and you want the variance analysis in the report format. There are some sample reports already created in the tool, which we will look into and see how it is built, that we can create a similar kind of report. In order to understand, let's just get into one report. I'm just going to click in this particular thing, which is budget variance. Let's just see how this is looking and how it is built. We will try to understand everything that they have added in the screen. The moment you click on the report, you can see that the first thing you notice that this data is for the month of March 2021. And we have the accounts on this particular side. You can also notice that they have done a representation in such a way that you know the color formatting is different. And there are certain spaces between few accounts. We would see how they have actually built this in the report. Here also you can see that actuals budget variance. There are 3 columns, then there is a space. Then again there is 3 columns and there is a space. We will try to understand everything today based on the conditional formatting also and based on how they are building a variance report. This is the output. Now, in order to understand any report, what you do is just simply click on Edit and understand how they have built. Looking at this report, what is the first thing that comes in mind? You will have to drag and drop accounts on this particular axis. Then you will have to drag and drop a ×1 on a version in this particular axis that it gives you the data for that particular time and that for particular version. For this column, they have added the actuals version, and for this column, they have added the budget column, budget version. And then this is nothing but a variance between this number and this number, which is this. Similarly, you can have a variance percentage column and you can just compare what is the variance percentage for this. You can add as many columns in the report and make it visually appealing as this report is. At the moment, everything is already done in the system and we are trying to understand if our analysis is correct or not. If I change the month, I would just see if the data is changing or not. And I will click on Run Report. It's loading. Yes, data is changing and there is no data in the actual. Let's keep it March, only that we have a proper variance. What are the requirements? Because everywhere, this variance report is mandatory to be built in the reporting requirements everywhere. Whatever you do. It can be your normal expenses sheets. They require the variance report in the expenses also. Not just income statement accounts, they require a lot of variance. Thing in expenses also. I've built a lot of reports like this. It's just a practice thing. You just need to understand once and then you can build as many reports you want. Let's try to understand and I click on Edit to see how it is built. we can see that they have added one by one the accounts here. You can see this. Once you hover over everything, you will see the account code is coming. Account name. It's there in the white thing. That's it. And then this is nothing but the space which we tried yesterday. List down all the accounts. Wherever you want a space, you just drag and drop. Let me just run this in a new window that you just understand what is happening. Can you see? Income statement is written like this: revenue, then this, then after total revenue, there is a space. Why there is a space? It's because you have added a design element here. You can add wherever you want, but at the moment we don't have edit access. You cannot do any changes to existing reports. For that, you'll have to create a new report and do this. We cannot do any editing with the existing report that you see in this system, because this user does not have added taxes. This is one feature. If you just scroll down to left, you can see now COGS has been added. This is how it is looking here. Then again there is a space. You will notice that there is a space ahead and below and above the gross margin percentage. Just reflecting, just scroll down. One. And then you have the expenses category and all the accounts in the expenses. If you scroll down here, there is an expenses separate tab and all the accounts rolling up to expenses. Then there is non-operating income against space. Here, let's notice what happens. The gap where you are doing two spaces. It's right below your net income. You can see now this is a huge space. And then a new sheet, new comparison start for a balance sheet. This was all income statement and then the balance sheet. In the same report, they are doing all the financial statement analysis and doing the variance calculation for the needful accounts. Now balance sheet accounts are being added and then the cash flow accounts has been added. You can create it as a separate also. This report, you can create a separate for cash flow, a separate for a balance sheet, separate for your income statement. This is only for practice, that how they are doing the variance analysis for everything, every possible account together. And they have explained you how to categorize it and make it visually appealing for the end user. You are able to understand this is the segregation for balance sheet. And these are the two accounts that I am doing the variance calculation. Then same for the cash flow and then same for the financial matrix. This particular spacing thing is something which is very useful for your making the report very organized in an organized manner. This is about the design elements that we were doing this yesterday. Now you just right click on revenue. I'm just going to right click and just look at properties. This is the revenue label which is coming here. If you want to change the name of this, you just simply write. And something like this. At the moment we don't have added access, but we cannot do anything. It will not reflect. If you want to change the name, this is the label section. Now, if you want to change the style, these are the things at the moment. You can see that the header should be in black color, right? This is a black color header. This is a blue color header. You can do conditional formatting. You can do the styling in this particular section. What did I do? I clicked on every account. I right-clicked on every account and went to properties. This label, you can change your style. You can change header. You can change the font size, make all the settings which are there normal in any Microsoft. This one and this is a background color. This is the font color. This is the header. If you want the header and the data to be in the same color, you can use this as same as header checkbox. Everything will be copy-pasted just like the header. But if you keep a separate for this, even that is possible. At the moment, you can see it is black for this and blue for this. It is a different. Let's just explore for a blue thing. This is in blue color. Let's go in properties. There is no label. You can add a label here. You can see this is for your data. This is for your header. And this is the size. This is the color. This is the header. You can do all kind of things. And then the roll-up format also you can change. By roll-up, what does this mean? Roll-up is nothing, but this is the roll-up. If you scroll, if you expand this is in blue and this is normal. This is the roll-up account which you are talking. You can do settings for your roll-up account and the child accounts also. Everything here is in blue and then you can just expand. This is also in blue. Then we go and report builder. You go on conditional formatting. If you want any kind of conditional formatting, you can just add a new rule. How to add a new rule? You can just click on here. And then if the value is less than 30,000, mark it as red color. If we do this in an Excel file. There is the similar kind of thing in this also. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to whatever features is there in an Excel file in the conditional formatting. You can get it here. Also, it's exactly the same. And then you can choose the format that for this particular combination, what should be the format. Then you can apply it for the roll-up only. That means only for this accounts, it will work. And for the child account, it will not work. The report builder is giving you the flexibility to have the control for roll-up account separately and child account separately also. If you do it same, apply to element this one, only roll-up. Things will change for the conditional formatting. If you want to take then only all the accounts, basically will be applied this particular filter. It's very simple. There is no rocket science here because we are familiar with the Excel file. It's just you need to understand where are this kind of properties existing. It's basically in every account. Every account will have this properties tab. When you right click on it and every account that you right click, you will have this element properties where you can do the changes in terms of your label, styling, condition, formatting and the numbers. There could be number format. How many displays? 0 things, you can keep blank. You can use this kind of things, use accounts, precision. All these things are there, but by default we do not change the numbers. This is the feedback that I've received across all the reports that they have made it. Scripts that you don't have to work on the numbers tab at all. Unless and until you want. The most use here is only this particular thing. Magnitude, because sometimes the reporting happens in US dollars. You need only value. You need in millions, you need in thousands. There is a unique kind of requirement that happens with the data. At the moment, you can just see this is the normal way of reporting. If you want this in millions, you just make this in this particular thing. As per my experience, I have not changed anything in the reporting section for these 3 things, but only for magnitude, I have done in millions because sometimes they require the data in millions. You need to understand if for certain things, certain parameters are there in the right click option. When you go down and the element properties, all these things are for the account which is the data that is reflecting here. Not just this particular thing. It is also considering the data because when you go in the styling, there is also an header section. There is also data section. That means it is talking about this data. This is the header. This is the data. And then this is the roll-up level roll-up account. All the settings are there in the report, builder in the element property, data, and then the roll-up is also there. Whenever there is a requirement from the client that change the color for the roll-up, change the like format we should understand that once I collapse this, then this is the roll-up thing. That's why it is reflecting in bold, and this is not reflecting in bold. This kind of requirements are there in reporting. There are very minute things that needs to be taken care of when it is considering the visually reporting kind of thing. These requirements will keep on changing, and the strange part of this, it depends on the users also. Sometimes the users will prefer this data and this color, this data and this it is. It is like that. You have to make it a generalized format for every user that it covers. You know the requirement by every aspect of it. Be it accounts, be it data, or be it the column section. Also because they have this download option also. And once they can download it, they don't have to rework on the Excel file based on the thing you know. That's why it is advisable to understand where they want the spaces, where they want the spaces in the columns, and how they want the look and feel of the data. Sometimes they don't want the roll up thing. You cannot. You can simply collapse this here. How do you do that? There is again a right-click option. Suppose in total revenue like this manage hierarchy right now, it is a custom. Not this one. At the moment, they have initially dragged and dropped entire child levels, child accounts. But if you can only drag and drop the revenue, and then you get this manage hierarchy thing, and there is not always expanded and always collapsing. You can always use this. At the moment, this is not expanded. If you do this, you will notice that all the levels will be reflecting inside of this. A group B. Everything will reflect. Now on the report, what do you see? You can only see the revenue of this, but if you want this to be also there, reflecting right from the scratch of the report, you have to click on this always expanded thing at the moment. What is happening? It is by default collapse. It is appearing like this when you open the report for the first time, and then manually they have to do this. If it is always expanded, then by default it will look like this. You need to understand the exact view that the organization users are requiring for the account part. This is another element of this, and we can just see if we have missed out on anything. Move up, move down is simple. You just rearrange the thing and delete is the same. It's like deleting this account. If you don't want this account to be reflecting in the report, you can just delete it. This is all the features of your account section. Let's just check properties once more. We have covered this all. Now let's go in the column section. As you noticed yesterday, also there needs to be a version pulled out here in order to understand which data that you're trying to populate for. You can notice how to drag and drop versions is basically here. You just drag and drop actuals here for budget. You drag and drop some budget here. If you hover over it, you will get it in the white cell that this is a working budget. Same goes with this. This is an actual budget. You just have to hover over the element that has been added. If you want to change this version, and if you want to do the comparison with actuals with the test version which we created. For example, I want this version instead of your budget. What I will do? I will simply click here and I will delete it from here, or just right click and delete. There are two ways of delete, and instead of budget, I will just drag it. Click this and drag and drop here, like this at the moment. We don't have edit right. This will not be saved. I'm just again deleting, and because we are not doing any changes to this. Same goes with the variance. If you notice and hover, this is a change between actuals and working budget. We did this a part yesterday. And how do we do this? We go in calculation. They have dragged and dropped this particular difference here, and they have done the variance. In order to write any formula, how do you do that? Right-click on this element and go to Properties. Here also the properties are almost same. Like style is there. It's the same like which was appearing for the account section on this particular site. Conditional formatting, also it is same. You can, whatever you add the new role it was going to reflect here, and then you click on apply. That's it. Numbers also, it is very much the same. Only thing is adding is this difference option, because this is a calculation element that you have added. On this, here you specify which version, which stratum, and what is the, basically what are you using for the difference. Now you can just see that working budget has been used here, and you can notice that when report is displaying this version will display the data from this. It's basically if you change this, and you can notice what is there. There is a second example that I will be showing you today for the understanding of offset. As of now, we don't need offset because we are comparing the same month. If you notice, this is the same month, March month. Only difference is the version. We are comparing versions here and the time is the same. But the next report that we are going to see is the same version, but the time is different. How that is built, we will see. It is controlled in the offset part. Now we are comparing working budget with your actual budget. And this is the simplest thing that this is going to do the difference between this and this. And this, if you right click on it, you will not have anything, any additional thing like difference, because this is an element with respect to a version. It just gives you a version options filter where you display the stratum. It can be month, it can be cotton, it can be year. It depends on you. Basically, usually the stratum is set to month. It is set to 1. You can see when it is set to month. The report is going to display for the month of January, and you keep on changing it will be month-wise. If it is quarter, then it will only reflect for quarter-wise report, and same goes with the yearly thing. It gives you additional information that the same report is reflecting for March for in that particular date or in that particular quarter. You can do actual versus budget by date, by month, by quarterly or by yearly basis. The variance analysis can be done in the same report. Basically, you need to just remember what kind of settings are existing in what element. Same for account, there were separate settings for difference. There were separate settings for versions. There are separate settings. You need to practice and understand that there are certain things which are different for account, which are different for version, and then definitely which are different for time. It's about practice only. Now you understood the first 3 columns. They have just added the actuals. They have added the budget and they have added the variance. Time, if you notice, it is coming in this particular section, and we have selected March 2021 as this, and we have added the parameters in. We have added the time in parameters and filter. If you wanted to give a pop-up, how do you do that? Pop-up of a prompt. There is a prompt before viewing. If you click on this, what happens is, whenever you open the report, you will have to specify this particular time first. At the moment, what is happening? Let's just open it from scratch. And there is no pop-up coming as of now. This was the report. If I click on this, there is no pop-up coming. If you want a pop-up to come before the output, this is the way to do that. You just have to select the parameter where you want the pop-up. Go on the properties and click on this check box and click on apply. And then you have the default month also option set up that it should be month and it should be only March to 2021 for all the users. If you want to change the default initial option, you can do that here also. This is for the time parameters here at the moment. I don't think we can edit anything because we don't have edit access to this report. Let's try to see what they have done in the next section here. Far it is clear, right? It's basically only reporting thing which you do in an Excel file. It's just an understanding of how to implement the same in an adaptive thing. Now we are trying to understand how the next three columns have been built in adaptive, which is this and this. As you can see, there is we have the budget data as same. But here this has been changed. Actuals. The version is same but at the budget rate. Let's understand what they have done here, that they can have the effects impact. Basically, they are trying to capture the variance that is happening because based on the currency exchange rates. If you want to do this analysis, they have created a separate columns similar to the previous one. And they have noted down the impact and then the thing. Let's try to identify what they have done. This is pretty much the same. We have the budget, again the same data. There is no difference here. If you click on properties, it's the same. It is the same here, same everywhere. But if you see here in actual, if you first just hover over it, and you will see actual chat budget rate is coming properties. Here we have a different version. If I have to check which version they have used. And I will just show you if there is one version created like that. I think this actuals is usually based on the P and L would be based on the average rate and the balance sheet would be based on the month-end rate. Right. I think for this effects evaluation, they would have taken the actuals also at the budgeted rate, just to understand what would be the effects. Variant. Yes, correct. It is this particular thing is that only we first compare the variance and then they are doing the effects. Currency impact basically based on the effects comparison. Budget is the same version. Actually, I think there's a different version which is getting calculated at the budgeted rates. That's what we are trying to see if there is a version like this existing. All these are. Not sure. This because when you just hover over it, it is not giving me the exact name of which version they have used it. And how they have. Let's try to understand how they have built this. It's basically difference again. Difference option. And this is just a version working minus this. If I click here, they have created a different version in the plan thing. I think I got it. Now, if you scroll down, can you see this? This is the version that they are using. They have created a plan version in order to tackle this for the budget rates. If you read the description, data from actual version is taken out here, and then they are using the budget rates based on the working budget. This is the working budget. There could be currency exchange rates and inputted for this, and they are using those rates here in this version. But the data is coming from actual version. The rates are coming from different versions. And then that report is addressing that version here. And then this is nothing but the difference between the same. It is, this column is same. This column is same. Only thing is the version is changing here. And then this is nothing but again the impact, the final impact. Again, if you see, this is a custom calculation. There is a difference between, this difference is a different thing. And this custom calculation is a different thing. Don't confuse between both of them. This is a different, where you have to write a formula. Basically, some calculations, you can see this is a custom thing, but this is a difference. Normally, this is a confusing thing that happens that if you just check the formula, what is it? You are talking something. Sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking this X rates right. When this actual data with the budgeted rates, when they are doing that, when they are created that version was created. I think they would have to eat that. FX rates, right? There's a place where we can kind of, am I right? Yes, you're right. Basically, the data import is done for every version. It's specific to version. Correct. In there, you see for actuals, currently there are two versions. One is the actual, which is being, since late, is based on your month end or your average rate. And there's one more actual version with the budgeted, because that is a plan, but at the budgeted rate. Correct? I was saying that there is a difference between the difference option element here and here. This is usually tackled with a custom calculation account and not by a difference. What they are trying to do is they are just using the two differences columns which they have already dragged in the report. And that is why you can see our PT syntax is there and our P difference 1 minus our PT difference 2. This is different and this is different. For this, in order to compute this, they have used this thing because it was in the same segment. What do I mean? My segment is, if you see this is one segment. Can you see actuals, budget and variance? This is one segment. In order to compare the difference between this and this, they can use the difference element. Same goes with here. Same goes with here. This is a different segment, segment number 2, where you are getting the actuals at budgeted rates. This is the column, second column, and here is, this is nothing but the second difference between these two columns. But now what is happening? This is a third segment. Here you cannot use the difference thing and utilize this because difference thing, the requirement of differences in the same segment. You need at least 2 columns in order to compute the difference. That's why you cannot make a difference column here to do the difference minus this and this. That's why this was the catch that the implementer had to use the custom option here. Here for non-FX impact, they use difference. Because it was in the same segment here, they use again the difference because this is the same segment. This belongs to one segment. This belongs to second segment. Now this, the moment you add a space here, this becomes a third segment. That is a different segment. Here, you cannot have difference or subtotal reflecting here because there are no additional columns reflecting here. You can. In the third segment, you can see only one column is there. That's why they had to use a custom calculation, and there they had to write the formula. This is the thing that happens in reporting. If If I think this, you can note it down because difference option and subtotal. It is only reflecting for a segment. Why is and you cannot do cross-referencing of segments. You cannot reference this segment one column and this segment one column with those two things. You always have to use a custom calculation thing where you can write a basic formula. If you want any kind of other formula that can reflect, you can always use this mathematical function. If it is a division, if it is a plus, whatever it is, you can write any formula based on the columns in separate segments. You need to understand when to use this and when to use this when you're doing reporting thing. At the moment, we are able to understand the whole report, that how it has been built. And in the end, you get the final difference between the first difference and the second difference. This is the final effects impact that is happening per account. Now, if you just scroll, collapse, you will get the details by all the accounts here. This is how they have built a sample report. You can do this for NPL shape. When you can do this for a balance sheet, you can do this for cash flow also. And then you can mention which particular time zone you want it to be reflecting. Any doubts in this? No. Yesterday, we covered the properties that are reflecting here. If you click on download, you can just download it. There are a few additional settings in any report of which we will cover. And then the entire part of reports will be done. The thing is, you have this report properties also reflecting where there is a certain thing which you mentioned in the reports will be. It is like the parent thing. Whatever you do here will be applicable to everything. Whenever you're doing this individually, it was for individual accounts. This was for, not this was. If you set anything for this, it is only applicable for that particular row, correct? Same goes with this and same goes with this. Whatever you said, it is for that individual row. Suppose you don't set it for individual rows or columns. You can do it at the top level, which is the entire report. That is why it is called as a report properties. And whenever you click here, it is called as element properties. You need to understand when to use the element properties and when to use report properties. In order to understand report, you can see there is a title reflecting here. You can always have a title for the report which can reflect here and give the report a visually appealing feeling. You can have the display again, desired output. You can have the privilege to make it an Excel file because at the moment, what is happening? This is called as HTML output, and then you have to download it and you get it an Excel file. If you want, by default, this should be an Excel format. Whenever you click on the report, an Excel file will be immediately downloaded. This is the way of creating that, but it is always advisable to keep this in this format because it gives you this kind of functionality which is called as a drill, into which we learned yesterday. If you want to understand the drill into functionalities, you can watch the recording of yesterday because we covered it. It's basically giving you the same data bifurcated by additional attributes or dimensions. That's why it is always advisable to keep this default option as HTML reporting, because once you keep this as Excel file, again in Excel file, you cannot have the drill into one sanity. You cannot get the bifurcation by attributes, bifurcation by dimension. When you have the report format set as Excel file and same with PDF, but the options are given to the end users to have set it for depending on the requirements. Always keep this as HTML. Again, this is nothing, but you can show whatever notes you have added in this particular report. You can show them as in footnotes in line or hide those notes. At the moment, there are no notes. We are not looking at this. To rotors and headers, you can always click on this option because it is giving you total rows at bottom also. You can see this total adjustment when you click on any roll-up account, like for this 470. You can see a total account is created for 4100. This is nothing but for all the accounts, for all the roll-up accounts, you can show the total year. By default, it is click. If you don't want the roll-up account to be shown, you can just untick this. These are no more report properties which are applied to all the segments basically. Same goes with your show, dimension, column headers. If there are dimensions added, you can add the dimension. At the moment we are adding version. This is not required. Same options are there. Suppress rows. If 0, suppress columns of 0. If there is no data in this cell, for example, this entire cell is 0. If you do suppress 0, then you will not see other group A. You will directly see group B and group C. There are certain requirements where if the data is not there, then it should not come in the report because it is eating up spaces. There are some unusual requirements that the client comes up with. How to tackle this? It's the simplest thing, report properties, and you can use all this 4 or 5 options that you see in the screen. Same goes with columns, same goes with the roll-ups. You can always have the suppress roll-ups thing. And again, this is the formatting part where you can show the report information. It's always there. If you click here, this thing is coming. All such things are there in the system, and you just need to know what kind of settings are existing in which particular tab. Report format. Properties are reflecting the this pane in this menu at the top here. Same goes with your freeze headers thing. You can freeze the headers allowed, drill down. If you untick this, then you will not be able to drill down. By default, whatever settings are there, you should not change it. That's why we always keep the report format same. You can see for style, it is exactly the same. That was reflecting for your element properties. When you right click on this, same is with the conditional formatting. You can set a conditional formatting rule for the entire report and not for the element-wise report. Same for numbers. You can again use this as magnitude to show in millions. The entire data in the report will be reflecting in the millions. By default, it is whatever it is. We keep the same value. Use account format. We print parameters. Basically, if they want to do any kind of printing, and the scaling it's just an additional thing which this particular setting is there. You need to understand when to use element properties, when to use report properties. Sheets. If you click on show sheets, drag and drop. What is coming? No, at the moment we don't have sheets here. It's not coming. But if you drag and drop sheets, it's reflecting here. This is nothing but your run page. Whatever changes you do, you can either run as HTML or in new window is basically the changes that you're editing in the report. You can just test it how it is reflecting. Mostly use this because in this tab you can do the changes. And then the next tab. When you do this, you can just refresh and run the report. But it's either way possible. And again, here also the option is given to run as Excel file or run as PDF. You can use that option also. And this is nothing but your save option. Yesterday, I told you that if you want to create a new report, but the report is exactly like this, it's the same thing. The best thing is you can create this as save as and name it. And you can have let's say you can have this. I will just write it as copy. What happens is in this, when you try to make changes to this report, you will be able to edit because you have made the changes. You have duplicate the existing report, and now you will make the changes in this report. You will be able to make changes now in this report and run whatever changes you're doing. At the moment, this report will be reflecting in our personal folder. This is how you can duplicate the existing reports quickly. And if you just click on this report, you will see the same output that is reflecting for this. It is going to be the same output. Now you can change these things, whatever you want. If you want to change the name of this, if you want to change the color formatting, you can do that. This is how you can do a cloning of the reports, and you don't have to redo the entire work that was done in this report. It's a very smart way of creating a duplicate copy and then making changes in that. Let's try to analyze another type of a report. This was a comparison of your AMA time-wise data, but it was for two different versions. Now we are trying to see if we take the same version, but the time is different. For example, I'm going to compare actual version here also and actual version here also, but the month here is March 2021 or year 2021. And for this actual version, it is 1 year prior. It is 2020 for this. How to do that? We are trying to analyze that. There is already existing one report for that. Let's just open it. You just need to understand what happens and how our different kinds of reports are created, depending on the requirements. Let's open this one and see how it is built. Samar, I just have one doubt here. When we are doing this comparison between budget and variance, right? Like, how did you navigate to that report? When I tell how did you navigate to that report, usually under reports, there's an option called as add new, right? Over there. What did you select? Like for this. Let's do from scratch. What you do is go in the reports. At the moment, this is our tenant, and in our tenant, there are certain things already built in the system. If there are certain things built in the system, they need to be shared with you. You as the user have access to following reports. But when you get the instance, a new instance, everything will be blank. You will have to create it from scratch. If you have to create it from scratch, you click on add new and then start creating it from scratch. But now what we are doing, we are not creating it a new report. We are trying to understand how the existing reports are built basically. This is built in this affects variance analysis folder, and inside there are two reports here. What I did was I just clicked on this, which is already created and shared with me as a user, that I can have the access to it. Now the question is, if I want to build a similar report, how do I do that? I will not go again in the reports and click on add new. I will simply create it. Simply create this as a duplicate because I want exact same thing. I will use this option and save as, and I will create this a copy thing and make it in my personal folder. It will reflect in the personal folder, and all the settings which is there in the previous report will reflect in my copy folder. Copy new report thing. You don't have to now do the same thing again, but if it is a new instance for you, you will have to do this entire exercise manually, one by one the accounts, one by one the version. Correct. Now let's understand what exactly is changing here. You can see this is pretty much the same income statement. This is exactly the same which was reflecting in our previous sheet. Previous report also had the cash flow and the balance sheet. It was exactly like this. Now we see actual column and let's see how it is built. Again, it's the same thing as actual version. And if you see properties, you will not see any changes in this because it is pretty much the same. The only thing that is going to change is this one particular thing. As you can see by the name, it is doing some certain thing in the back end here. We will try to analyze what has happened. Let's first understand which version is this. If you hover over this, what do you read? It's actuals. If you hover over this, what is it is calling? It is actuals in this report. What was happening? This was actuals and this was a budget version. But in this report, what is happening? It is both the versions are actuals. The only thing difference is here. They have made certain settings to make it 1 year prior. Let's understand how they have done that. They have done basically versions actuals. They have went here. They have put it drag and drop this twice in the columns. They have drag and drop this twice like this, one below the other, one besides the other. At the one, I'm not doing it. Now let's right click on NY actuals and understand what they have done. They have just changed the layer label here. But in version options, you will notice a change. And what is the change? It is this one, the offset. Offset 1 and backward and year. That means this particular version is going to go 1 year backwards and display that data. When the report is displaying 23 data, this version will display 2022 data. This is the meaning of your offset. If I increase the offset, what happens? It will reflect the 2021 data. If I increase this offset, now it will do the 2020 data. Now, if the requirement comes that I want to compare actuals of this year with the actuals of 4 years back, how do you do that? You have to understand that in version option there is something called as offset. And this is how you can use backward and forward option also. If you do forward, what happens? It goes forward. Now by default, we are in the current 2023 financial year. It is going 3 years forward and it is going to compare with the 2026 version data. But at the moment, what we are comparing? We are comparing the actuals version and not the forecast version thing. For focus, the forward thing is used, anything related to actuals. We use backward thing. You understood the difference of offset. Sorry, the difference of forward and backward and the usage of offset here. This is how they have tackled and it is exactly the same report. Nothing changes. Same goes with the slide. I just have one question here. Here, if you could just close the tab, this particular thing. Here we see actuals and last year's actuals. Here you know how is the system going to understand and get the last year's data. Is it like we are linking that to the last year's version? The data is in which version for both the columns? The data is in which version? It's in actuals. Correct. Assume like I have for example 2020. Let's assume 2022 actuals. I've saved in one version and 2021 actuals. I've saved in another version. In that scenario, here you pull the latest version and here you pull the other version that you're talking about. But in this case, what is happening? All the data is stored in only one version, which is called as actuals. But in that actual version, you have the privilege to have the load, the data from the last 5 years or last 10 years. Also, you have the privilege to load the data for the previous 10 years. There is no restriction on the time slot, But in your example, what you're doing is you're loading actual data in separate versions. You can do that also, but then it's a very simple thing. Put that version. Instead of budget version, you put that version. That is the case. You answer my question because I was just when my thought process was running, I was of the view that how is the system picking the last 10 years data or the last year data when the actuals are saved in two different versions. But you told me in this particular instance the last 2 or 5 years data is saved in the same version. That's the reason. When we give a minus like the last year, it will go. For example, April 23 last year or a year back is April 22. It will go pick from the data from the same version but 12 months back. This is where the offset functionality is coming into. If you want 3 years back, then offset is 3. This will function or trigger only if all these data is saved in the same version. Correct. Otherwise, every column will be 0 in that column. Got it. There will be no variance analysis for that. This is a good feature which is called as offset. And it is asked in interviews that what happens in the like. It's basically they want to understand the functionality of this particular parameter called as offset. Because if you notice, everything in reporting is very simple. It's just drag and drop. And you just need to know what exactly you want in the data. But what is the trickiest thing is how do you do a variance analysis of certain combinations? In this case, these were the two examples where you did for actual certain budget and then you had the effects impact also. And now in this report, you are doing the same version but a different time zone. That's why these type of questions are usually asking reporting requirement questions. Because they will not ask you the simplest thing, how to drag and drop accounts or how to drag and drop the things. The things are, these are some hidden things like this offset, which are very frequently asked question in adaptive. And if you plan to give interview questions for reporting point of view, always make sure that you go through the variance analysis of any report that has been built and then understand the functionality of this offset thing. Because if you explain this, then it's a very good for the interview basically. That's what I wanted to cover with this. 2 examples. If you just run this and see how it is reflecting. And before you do that here, also actuals at LI rates. And if you see there is a separate version for this. In this what was the version? It was actuals at budget rates. And now there's a separate version for this. This is a separate version. And this is a separate version. In this case, both the versions were same. Only thing you changed it in the offset thing. Here you're only using the another version. If you click on LY, actuals and properties and see version properties they have used, they're comparing it with the previous year data, which is loaded in the same version. Now they are just doing the analysis of the currency fluctuation. Let's just see the output of this report, how it is looking. Basically, even in this particular version, it's the tweak that they have done with the currency rates. Correct. They have done the tweaks in this particular version, actuals at LY rates. That's why you are getting the variance between this and this. At the moment, you can see F's impact is 0 for the last year's data. Last year's data. This is the actuals data. This is the last year's actuals and this is the X impact segment. When you can notice that this variance and this variance is pretty much the same for all the columns. There is no fluctuation impact for this particular report. But in this, if you use the budgeted rates, there is some for fluctuation impact that is coming. It gives the company feasibility to do the analysis based on versions also and based on the rates in different versions. This is one exercise that we wanted to cover into this session for the which covers basically everything that we are going to do, which is starting from conditional formatting, including the P and L analysis and the variance analysis and the effects impact. That's why I picked these two reports in the current system. Once you understand such complex reports, you know every report will be very simple to build for you. You can build reports based on attributes. You can build reports based on our dimensions also. You just click on the time and change the data here also and see what is the data for, let's say for January month, and the report will compute like that. How to add this? This is nothing but your parameter section. You need to understand that if you need a drop-down or a pair additional filter or a parameter to run this report, you have to give it here. That's why if you go in the report section, in the report builder, you will notice that there is a parameters. Time is there. Basically, time has been drag and drop here. I think I understood your question. And that's why I opened this particular sheet which you see and which is reflecting the data of your balance sheet accounts by the time. And suppose if you require the comparison to be done month-wise also and different versions, you can do that also. I'm just going to show you how it is done. At the moment, let's understand how this particular report has been built. What I'll do, I'll just create this, edit this. I'll save this first and make it as a copy that we can be able to edit it. I'll keep it in my personal, save it. This is a balance sheet, report now. Assets, all the assets accounts are there. If you right click manage hierarchy, it is custom. At that's why it is always giving the roll up thing. But if you click on always expanded, what will happen? All the accounts will be listing in the report. You have the privilege to reflect what accounts you can show when you just immediately run the report. At the moment, what is happening? Let's close this at the moment. What is happening? Run as HTML in new window. Let it. At the moment, you can see this is the thing that is happening. If you want additional details that should be reflecting also for that particular time zone, you can do simply a manage hierarchy and always expand it, click on apply, save it. And then again run this report. Now let's see how the report is reflecting. If there is data, every account will have certain things populating. At the moment, we can see that only the data is only available for this accounts. And the remaining thing is 0, and that's why it is not reflecting. And how do you change that? As I explained, this one is in report properties. You go suppress all rows. If all zeros are blank, click on this and take this, save it. Click here. You just click on refresh. And now if the cells are 0, you can see that. It will again, it will also reflect. It should reflect in the file. At the moment, it's not. Did I save this? I said this is an account, right? 2000. Run as HTML in new window. Now to see. Since you untick that option that even if it is 0, just show me in the report. But usually this preference is not preferred. If there's no data, then let's restrict the number of rows. And that's why this report properties is very useful, that you can just simply do this and click on apply. And only things where there is some data, only that should be reflected. Similarly, you can just try out all the report properties in this. You will understand when to use what type of thing. It's just a practice kind of thing. At the moment, I can see that accounts are on this particular axis, how they have done that. Let's try to understand that. You can notice that they have only added the time span thing. In time, what they have done is they have picked the thing, this one option, and they have just drag and drop. By this, it means that from a specific time span that you mentioned, the report is going to reflect for that particular duration. At this moment, you can see the data should be reflecting for this particular time span. If you scroll down to 27, you will see December 27. The data is there. You can restrict that in this particular time span, properties, and you can notice that this is the range that has been given. Connect it to parameter time and you can set up the range here. And then this time is again having certain properties where you can set up the range here. You can set it for month and again set it for the specific particular range. Now let's try to understand what will happen if I want to do. If I want to do version comparison, I want the version comparison of actuals and budget month-wise. I have added the time span here, but I don't have the version-wise. If I want to do that, what I will do is I will drag and drop both the versions below the time span. Let's do that and let's see if we are successful in getting the output. What I'm doing, I'm just dragging drop actuals below time span. And then besides actuals, I'm going to drag and drop your budget. For example, I'm going to drag and drop a working budget besides this. This is the thing that I'm going to do. Let's just save it. And we can have the variance. Alright. And we can have the variance also. Now, for example, I'm just trying to see if it is reflecting in the correct manner, which I'm expecting this report to run. Can you notice the change now? What has happened? This is what I wanted, including the variance. Correct. And now automatically, if you see, assets are also reflecting because the entire cell is not 0. But initially for the version that was picked, it was taking or it was giving only those things where the data was not 0. But now, since in this report we have mentioned that take the data from actuals version also and take the data from your working budget also. Similarly, if you want to do and add another version, you can do that also. Let's say, if you want to add actuals at budget rate, you can add it and let's save it. And let's see how the report is looking right now. Run as HTML in a new window. And you will see the data reflecting for all 3 versions for the accounts that you have mentioned in this particular thing. Similarly, you can add as many versions for this particular time span. Is it clear? And now you can add a difference element for this one, and you can do actuals minus this, or actuals minus this, or even this version minus this. How you can do that? You can just simply go back to elements. You go to your calculations. You add this particular difference, and then you just add it here. Change between working. By default, it is picking the last 2 versions, which is reflecting in the screen. It is picking this, then this. If you want to change it, go to Properties. Click on Difference. I don't want this version. I instead I want this particular version. Give me the difference between actuals and my working budget. And click on apply. It's simple. I just save it. Instead of change, I'm going to write variance. This has the label that the report is not huge. The column name in the report is not huge. We'll just close the tab, which is already open here. The variance we created in calculation, right? In calculations, there is a difference element. Now you can see this is a version data. This is a version data. This is a version data and this is variance. And inside this particular January monthly, you are getting the version data. But initially what was happening? It was throwing the version data month-wise only. Now, one more thing I wanted to highlight is, why did I drag and drop the versions of this below the time span and not about the time span? If you want to do that analysis, shuffle the order and try to run the report again. This is one output when the time span was above and the versions was below. Let's do this now and run as a new window and see the difference. What is happening? You will notice that the display will be changing depending on the placements of the elements. The placement of elements is very, very important in adaptive. Now what does happen? The variance is there, but now it is showing first the actual data. This is the actual data. And then there'll be a certain segment called as actual, that budget date, which is January to this. And then there will be another segment for your working budget. This is a segment for working budget. And then there will be another segment for your variance. It does not give the correct. It's not very appealing, correct. Now this is a correct view that in January you get the comparison there and there itself. Correct. This is the importance of understanding that which element needs to place where. This is only possible through practice. If I have learned from practice only because it is not written anywhere that you should have time span here. You should have this here. It's only through practice. You understand that how the output is changing. By default, a time span is already or always covered at the top because you have the month-wise analysis to be done. If you have any variance calculation, I think this example also covers your doubt, which was your yes, what is in comparison and the month-wise comparison also. If you don't want to use time span, what you can do is simply use selective months and just drag and drop here. And it's good to go. If you select time span, it will cover your bottom also. For example, if you're clicking F at 2021, and over there you're selecting only May 2021. The same thing you can get in time span also, right? Same thing you can get. But by default, time span will cover January to December. If you just drag and drop, let's do this thing. I'm going to delete the time span. And instead that I'm going to drag and drop I-23 only. I'll just save it. Let's see what happens now. There is no data for this combination. I think it was 2021. Click on Properties. Manage Hierarchy. By default, it is showing the total. Click on Save. Run as team. Now, if you notice the difference between this output and this output, I'll just close the middle one. This output was by default giving me the months in the time span. Jan was there. Feb was there until it was. Whatever duration you maintain here, it will reflect for that. But here it is doing at the top level, which is you just drag and drop FY21. And this is the consolidated statement. But now if I do this expand hierarchy, a quota same, with this expand, all is here. I will just use expand all and click on apply. Click on save. Now I just use this in new window. It is taking time, but I hope you guys understood like how the basic reports will be built and how the variance analysis is done through reporting. You will just have to practice once you get familiar with the instance. It is giving me a date-wise here. This is not correct. I don't want it to be date-wise. What I will do, I will again go on properties. And again go on manage hierarchy. I will collapse all and then individually. I will take months like this that it is going to give me only for the months similar to my time span thing. I'm just saving this. The advantage of time span is it does not restrict year-wise. You can have a set 2021 to 2030. The time span can have as many months. Now, if you see, this is January and we have the data, and this is for Feb and this is for. It's similar to what we did in the start. This is January and this is February. The only difference was this can run till whatever duration you want. It can run to 2022, also because you have used this as a time span. Here, what you have done, you have used it as a financial year. Only 22 you can see. And that's why it is not editable, because here you have mentioned that by default, the data should reflect for 2021 only and not for any other years. And again, the display format changes. If you select a time and the time span like this, the display format is different for time and time span. Let's try to see any additional reports, because this is the another thing that I wanted to cover, which was by default the doubt of Thomas. Let's try to see if we have any additional reports in the system that we can cover into this session. One I would like to cover is a report based on a dimension attribute or account attribute or anything. Let's say, for example, I'm going to do a product P&L and I want to do the analysis by size and color. If I click on it, what happens? Let me just close the remaining tabs because I don't require that. Now it is asking me a prompt. You exactly know how do you ask a prompt for the user. You have to go in the report builder and select that particular element and check that particular checkbox for prompt. At the moment for size and color, they have take the checkbox. Now what I will do, click on size. I will select one particular small thing. And here let's select red and then run the report. And let's see if we have any data for this. We don't have data. Let's select some another combination. We will have to just see if we have any data. Let's do one thing. If I select this no data, let's try to understand which accounts they are pulled. This is the balance income statement accounts. We have the time span here from this range. Size and color and time is also added. And by default, the time is this. That they have not specified the version. If I have to look, let's look. If there is a product PL sheet, it's not showing any data, even after changing the time span. I don't know. Because the data is there in the system, I just validated that. Let's drag and drop my version by default. Because I think it is taking some another version. What I'll do is just simply drag and drop my version here. I'll click on save. I want the data for this version. At least now it should show me. Because here we can see data in working budget for the respective accounts. I just want the sum values should come in this report. That's my end goal. Now it is there. What I did was I just changed the parameters to 21 and it is reflecting here. You can just by default select it from here also. And I want only the data for January to March and then run the report. In this report, what is happening is you are running a report based on some attributes. What are those attributes? Size and color. You're trying to do analysis that how many units were sold in the smaller range of red color. If you want to do certain analysis based on some attributes, you can build a report something like this. It gives you the option of changing the color and running the report again. For this combination, this is the particular output and this is the gross margin. You know it is possible in an Excel file. I agree, but it is very comfortable to do it in an HTML report also. This is the way where there are certain cases where there is a need that you want to do it, or where you want to build a report through an attribute. These two are attributes and that have been built. How they have been built? Let's try to understand. Again, time span is something. Not this one. We just made some changes. Time span is again the same thing. We just drag and drop the time span, which we did in the previous reporting in the previous report. And then we added the version that pops out the same version and not takes the by default version. And then we have added the account. Whichever accounts you want in this system, in this report, you can add it here. Suppose you don't want the remaining account. Suppose you just want a gross revenue. I will just delete this. I want the net revenue. I don't want this spaces. I don't want this spaces. This is the final thing and I will just save it. And now you will see that I have made some changes in the account structure and then the report structure will change. I will just run the report. And now it is showing me this particular thing in this way. Total sales gross margin percentage like this. And you can again set the times slot here. How they have added the attributes here? They have just simply went and selected which attributes they want the report to run. Whatever they're done is, they went in the dimension attributes, size and the color. They have just drag and drop here. And then they have used in the filter also. Both of them. It's a good practice to keep both of them, because then you can use it in the prompt function. How they have enabled the prompt? They have enabled the properties for every element, and they have selected this prompt. And then initial choice is small. You can change the initial choice. Also same for color. They have asked it for as a prompt. They are asking, they are giving the initial choices red, but they are giving you the drop down to change the color. But if you notice, they are not giving the drop down to for time. If you want that also, you will enable this. And you will select initial range for whatever it is. And I'm just doing initial range as your Jan to December. By default, it should show me only this 3 months. I'm doing this for all the users. Initial choice. This applies. I'm going to save it. Now, when I run this report, I should be asking for 3 parameters. Let's do that. And let's check if it is asking me for 3 parameters when I'm running the report. You can see it is asking me for size. It is asking me for color, and it is asking me for time. Now, if you notice, by default some values are populating here. It is because you have already mentioned in the back end of the report that this is the by default thing that should appear in the initial click of the report. I'm with it. I want the output for this particular section. And this is the output. I have only 5 accounts. I have only 3 time spans. And this is the working budget thing. Again, if you want to do a version comparison, you just add the another version besides this time, and it will reflect here. It's the same thing. Here is nothing but the report properties. It is talking which level it is taking, which particular attribute, and which are the accounts, and which is the currency. It is just addressing every information that is reflecting in the system. This is one example of an attribute-based report. Any questions of how we can build a report based on attributes? This was a report for a dimension. Similarly, you can build a report for accounts. Let's see if we have any report for account attributes, attribute reports. Account attributes. Let's just open and see if we are getting any output. If not, then we'll have to change something again. Maybe we can change the version. We have a certain account from the income statement, but the time span, and I'm just going to drag and drop the working budget that we get some data. I'm going to save it. I always forget this that we don't have added access. I'm just going to create it as a copy. Whenever you get familiar with the instance and trying the report thing, always use this save as option and create a new report, or use the save as option and create a copy. Only then you will be able to edit it. Just keep this in mind because we don't have added access on this user. We have certain data coming for your attributes. They have added attributes here. Let's see how this has been built. In order to understand gap P&L, this is an account attribute which is a tag to certain accounts. If you select this, this is also a gap P&L. This is also gap. If you want to understand how and what has been built in these reports, you simply go to account attributes. You will understand what attributes have been built. For example, this gap P&L has been tagged to everyone, and they have tagged certain accounts to revenue, and they have tagged certain accounts to call. Basically, they are doing this at this report based on this gap P&L attribute that tell me what are the What is the report looking for? COGS. What is the report looking for? Revenue. Similarly, you can do this in this way. If you want to do an attribute report that you want to showcase me this output based on my fixed expenses and based on my variable expenses. If you want this output to be reflecting in that way, what you need to do, you need to make sure that you have the 1:1 tagging in the system, and then you can reflect the accounts by fixed expenses and by variable expenses also. At the moment, this is an attribute running for GAAP P&L attribute where the revenue and costs are reflecting same with the IFRS P&L. If you notice, there is another attribute called IFRS P&L, and inside them there is a 3 values here. Direct cost and this 3 values, which is reflecting here. Product says revenue and this. These are not accounts, but these are accounts tagged to account attributes, and we have directly running the report for account attributes. You should understand what is an account and what is an attribute. True, just to understand. Always hover over it, whatever is there in the pane. You get an understanding in this white cell that is popping up. It is exactly picturizing that this is an account attribute, and it is calling which particular attribute is. That image is GAAP P&L. Similarly, you can run reports on account attributes, level attributes, and dimension attributes. Now we have the data here. This is an income statement report. It is a simplest thing that you can add all the income statement accounts here. You can do the spacing. You can add the version. You can add the time span here. You can add the time span in the parameter section. That if they want the feasibility to change the year, it is given. It is again giving you an additional option of currency. We are just covering this thing here because the remaining thing is same. And the level thing. How they have added the levels and the currency. It's very simple. They have just drag and drop level here. And they are giving the income statement view by levels also. Suppose if you want to analyze the income statement of Mumbai, that is how you can do it. If you want to do analysis for all the stores inside Philadelphia, you can do that also by adding the levels in the parameters. It's that, and by adding currency, you can add currencies from here. It's basically just adding all the currencies and just enabling whichever things you want to have in the report. At the moment, you can notice that only New Zealand dollars, US dollars, and I think one more was there. This Australian dollars have been enabled. Suppose if you want euro also there, you just simply come here and add them in the sheet and click on apply. You can add levels also, and you can add currencies also in the sheet. Usually in income statement balance sheet, these things have been added. In any other reports, they see these two things are not mandatory, but time version and accounts that are mandatory. Let's see how it is looking. Now in this drop down, you will see the additional filters that you have added will be reflecting here. We added a euro and GB. That's been added here. This is about it. And we cover everything about metrics reports today. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.